Time for this week's update. And you may notice that things are a little different this week and that I have a guest.
Hey, good to be here.
Great to have Kyle here with us. And the reason that I have a guest is we have an exciting announcement that relates to Kyle's area of ministry, one of his areas of ministry, as we prepare for relaunching everything throughout this fall. But before I turn it over to him, I do just want to say that one of the things that coronavirus has given us the opportunity to do is to take some time to reevaluate what we are doing and examine it to see if it's as effective as we want it to be. Last year, we announced our new vision statement, Imaging Jesus by Becoming Love. And we've been serious about saying we want this to be more than just words on the wall.
Yeah.
We want this to be something that shapes and drives everything that we do. And so as we've been in this downtime, in addition to all the other stuff that we've been doing, one of the things that's been happening is we've been looking at the ministries that we do or that we were doing and asking ourselves, did this ministry in its current form help us to accomplish this? Because if it didn't, we either need to stop doing it or we need to tweak it or change it.
Yeah.
And if you'll remember, there are four main directions towards this vision statement: that we're going to become love, and that love is going to be focused on worshiping God, offering love to each other in community, extending it to our world in outreach, and the last one is growing in love through our discipleship. And when we looked at some of the ministries that we were doing in the discipleship end of things, we recognized that not all of them were actually as effective as we wanted them to be in the discipleship end of things. And so some of those ministries are going to change. One of the ones that we want to talk about this week is the one that Kyle is going to be overseeing. And so I'm going to turn it over to him to help you begin to understand what we're going to be doing with our youth ministry beginning in a few weeks, and bring you in not just on what we're doing, but why we're doing it. Over to you, Kyle.
Thanks, Doug. And on September 30th, we're going to be relaunching our youth group according to all the rules and all the things this season. But no matter where we find ourselves in the season and the regulations, it's going to look different from before all this.
Absolutely.
As Doug said, we're going to be looking to make things as best as we possibly can to see in this area of discipleship, but in all things that people are becoming love. And as we've been examining how we do things, the youth group program mentality, I think, has yet to yield the fruit we hoped it would.
Yeah.
And that's the way I went to youth group, maybe the way you went to youth group, Doug. And this is a model.
Moons ago.
This has been a model that hasn't changed in decades. And as we've begun to look at it and see the fruit and see where our students land, and I've perpetuated this system, Doug, you've been a part of things like this too, and going, man, we'd like to see something that yields disciples at a greater rate than youth program has.
Yes.
And so as we evaluated that, just with our thinking, with our own observations, even with stats we've come across, the youth group program is a great place for kids to be, but is not helping kids become disciples in the way that we'd hope. And reading different things, the most recent one was a book called Spiritually Vibrant Homes with Barna and another author, can't remember his name, but they had a bunch of stats in it. And one that just jumped off the page last week as I read it was kids and youth who keep their faith into adulthood. One of the common things that is one of the biggest predictors of kids holding onto their faith is having 5 adults in their life who exemplify their faith to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so all that said, doesn't matter how much you attend youth group, doesn't matter how many missions trips you go on, doesn't matter how often you attend church, whatever, it's relationship.
It is.
That it's all about. And so we are going to be stripping youth ministry back from all the program pieces to be about relationship. And so our original idea was to even get it out of the church building and let the relationship thrive, but with social distancing and all those pieces, it is going to have to be relegated back to the building so we can accommodate the amount of space. Eventually, we'd like to meet in public places, McDonald's and Tim Hortons and Starbucks and all those kinds of things, and make the focus relationship. We're going to take advantage of some of our newer tools with Right Now Media. And what youth is going to look like is we're going to have 2 adult leaders per group of up to around 10 students in those groups. And they're not going to keep changing leaders. They're not going to keep changing their focus. It's going to become talk about something in common, likely a video from Right Now Media. But other than that, just be with each other on a regular basis.
Yep.
And so these adults are going to have the ability to care for and love and get to know and share and guide these kids, and that's about it to start it off. As things allow, we want to be able to add other things and ways for kids to express their faith outside of that, but relationship is the key. So down the road, quarterly, we'd like to be able to add one event like we've typically done. Teens still like to have fun. So doing something like flying squirrel or whatever is still going to happen. But on top of that, we'd like to have service nights where we might join in the future, youth rallies, or even host our own maybe inner city youth nights. But on top of that, it's sometimes easy to get focused on what we can take in. And so one big part of what we want the youth group to also show is giving out.
Yep.
And so quarterly, we're also going to be introducing, as we can, service nights where we can go and give to others. And I believe our faith grows with all those elements together. Discipleship, relationship, and service are going to be three main parts of what we'll be doing as we progress.
Yeah. And just to reinforce what you said, I've also done some reading that says that one of the key indicators to young people staying in the church and staying in their faith is cross-generational relationships.
Yeah.
And the way that the youth program has historically run in the church is we take our youth and we segregate them out from everything else. And we put them in their own little ecosystem and let them be in that ecosystem, and they're good there. But then once they graduate out of the youth, they've disconnected from the church body as a whole.
Yeah.
And so we are going to have these youth leaders who are going to be people who are going to be just building relationship with these teens and helping them and meeting with them and encouraging them and teaching them and just showing the love of Christ to them so that they are connected not just in their own little pocket of the church, but they become connected to the broader body, which is something that we recognize is absolutely essential for our teens as we want to disciple them. It's not just pointing them to Jesus, but it's having adults in their lives who can say, follow me as I follow Christ, the same way that Paul did.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to that five adults who care and exemplify their faith. We're taking care of almost half of it.
Yep.
If your teen's plugged in, and I believe if you're watching this and you're interested in sending your kid, we've got at least one more. So that's 3 out of 5 covered.
Yep.
No problem. And so we want this to be a model. Some practical ends. Like I said, we're going to be starting September 30th. Everybody's going to be in here at 7 o'clock, but it's not going to be big program time. Like we said, there's going to be different spots in the church that are designated per group. That's going to be their room, their area, and they're going to meet with their group and then head home. With all the precautions we're taking around COVID and following all those rules, just also know that we'll be following and making sure we're extremely accurate and strict on all of our restrictions to keep your kids safe in all other forms. We're going to have 2 adults per group and keep everything so our kids are safe as well with all the different restrictions and all the different things in mind.
Yeah. As well, please understand that this is a new initiative, and it's going to be something that's going to take a little time to find its groove.
Yeah.
So encourage your kids to come and give it a chance for a while. Yeah. And give us the feedback that you hear from your kids about how it's going, because we want to launch this new thing and help it and steer it and make it grow and become what we believe it can be. But nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
Just as when we entered this Corona season, we didn't hit our stride with the live streams the first week, but it took us a little time to find that groove. As we move into all these new areas of ministry, it's going to take a little time. So stick with us and walk with us, and we believe it's going to be fantastic. And I think that within a matter of a few months, your teenagers are going to be looking forward to coming and meeting with those people who are helping them, who are loving them, who are teaching them, who are encouraging them in their faith. Yeah. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or comments, please, this week you can email either Kyle or myself, but we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us on this journey into what is going to be a brand new normal. We're excited about all the stuff that's coming, and I hope you are too, not just with our church as a whole, but also specifically for your teens as they continue, hopefully in this process of imaging Jesus by becoming love, so that we can all live this out fully. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.